Welcome back. Hope you're having a good morning. Well, we just told you all the stocks that we're tracking in our special top 10 segment. Let's analyze a couple of those numbers. And Prakash Diwan joins us to help us analyze some of those. Hi, Prakash. Good morning. Well, let's start off with JSPL. You know, in Friday's trading session, the stock ended at the high point of the day. It seems the street was sensing that these numbers will be very, very good. And boy, weren't they good. But how much of the good news has played out already? Or do you believe there's still scope for the company to do well? And I ask you this because prices are a little bit weakish post the Q1 numbers, and also some of their capacities that are coming on stream could be a little bit delayed.
Good morning, Nigel. So you're absolutely right. The numbers probably, if you look at them, especially the standalone ones, they give you a very different picture than what the consolidated basis picture looks like. But what's interesting is that the market expectation that within a sector that's probably weak and hence not richly valued or kind of, overbought, you had certain companies which could probably deliver superior performance. And this is one of those examples. I mean, we've seen that in Tata Steel as well. I mean, I'm a big believer in the fact that all the steel companies that survive this low or low phase in terms of global, prices are very likely to start reaping the benefits of capacity expansion and efficiencies that they've built over the last few years. So whether it's a balance sheet, repair with Tata Steel, that JSPL also deleveraged itself to a very large extent. And now you have the expansion on the Angul mines, which would probably start helping them out as well. There has been a delay in some of their business expansion, but I think what's important is the economies of scale that they have achieved is going to hold them in good stead. Don't expect anything spectacular today, at least, because the stock had run up and the numbers are not so promising as yet. But it does tell you that the company is ripe for a re-rating in the long run in the next 3 to 4 quarters. And that's something which people will have to take very positively in terms of a portfolio reshuffle or something.
Prakash, any of the stocks that you own reported numbers over the last 2 days? How did it fare? Does it change your narrative, both positive and negative?
No, so, to be honest, Rima, it's the result season is very clearly indicating that the last phase of earnings is always tending towards the weaker side. Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of numbers that have been weak. One of the stocks that I track closely and which has been a bit of a disappointment has been Timken. Everything was probably good, but then this whole softness in demand, which has precipitated that closure for some time, which they've informed the exchanges, does kind of, start making you question things. But of course, you also have to put this in perspective that the plant that they're talking about closure does not churn out very high value add products. It's a very basic facility. Most of the stuff that they supply to the railways and to the wind sector actually from other facilities. So that's likely to be taken a bit, in a more moderate way than what it optically sounds. Apart from that, I think the numbers very clearly tell you that interest rate costs are hurting companies, and that's where the margin is getting into a little bit of a question. But there were some Suprajit likes, the types of Suprajit which did well both on the revenue and on the margins. So I think certain pockets will do well because of the kind of tailwinds that they've had in terms of comeback of demand on the ancillary side and things. So today there's a company called FM Industry that I track, which could probably be interesting to look at. So you have certain companies, but very few, Riba. It's not something which is giving you a trend. But on a bottom-up basis, there are certain numbers that probably will be worth looking at. And of course, the big daddy ITC is what we are watching out very closely for today.
Two names, Prakash. Hi, good morning. One is Astral, which reported numbers. I don't know if you have a view there. CLSA this morning has come out with a downgrade, I think largely because of valuations. But this comes after results. And the second is Muthoot Finance, where numbers are decent. And stock has seen some repair after languishing its back up to a more respectable kind of zone. And management has sounded confident for the last 3 quarters at least now.
No, absolutely. Good morning, Prashant. So I think let's take Muthoot. Muthoot is a company that's kind of transitioning itself and de-risking itself from a dependence on the gold portfolio. I mean, you have so many, the microfinance business, you have the home finance business. So there's lots that's moving for them in terms of coming together. The gold yields have been far better because of the fact that prices have been higher, right? So their AUM would definitely have an organic push into that. And to me, Muthoot numbers or even the Manappuram numbers tell you at what stage of growth is the economy in and which segments. it's a very strong correlation. When gold loans go up, it's usually, the informal sector or the not so formal sector that actually is rapidly growing, and the demand for credit is percolating into gold loans. So that's a very clear indication, which doesn't seem to be the case in this quarter at least. But I think what's working for Muthoot is that it's probably far more superior and balanced as compared to its closest competitor in the listed space. So that's the reason why you probably see more inflows. If you had to allocate money to a gold loan company, probably this becomes a choice by default, and you don't have any confusion between this and Manapur.
Prakash Diwan is still with us. Prakash, your thoughts on Adani Ports? Whenever you have an auditor resignation, it's always viewed negatively. But here, as Mangalam pointed out, it's being replaced by BDO, which is also a large, reputed, auditing firm. So does that provide you comfort?
So, there are two things. One is the explanation that comes from the outgoing audit firm is not very, very tenable in the sense, it seems a bit half-hearted. It seems too little, too late of sorts. And the second thing is, the company has already been kind of inspected or evaluated for whatever wrongdoings could possibly be there in the related party transaction or the group companies. And there's nothing which has been very culpable in that sense. So, of course, there's a SEBI report to the Supreme Court that also will be a big swing factor in this case. But my sense is the numbers that came some time back very clearly encourage you that it's in a very sweet spot on the fundamentals. So I don't see anything being challenged as far as earnings trajectory goes. And that finally supersedes all of these news flows. So my sense is the market might not react very negatively to this news.
Okay, got that. Prakash, stay with us. We'll just come back to you. We are kind of ticking down to the pre-open. Prakash is still with us. Prakash, any thoughts on any of the earnings which Vivek put out?
No, I think what stands out is that some of the cement names, while there's been a little bit of shrinkage in profitability or margins, have continued to show some very strong volume growth. So that's very positive for the sector as a whole. If you pick some winners in there who have much more efficient units, you'll probably get rewarded faster than the others. So, like the likes of Ambuja, smaller names like Orient, they could definitely, start contributing much more to the alpha generation. From the results that you discussed, and one of the things I wanted to point out was landmark cars. While we've heard the management say why the numbers were slightly softer and all, I think it's probably one of the best bets on premiumization that you could have in a segment with otherwise you don't get to participate, right? I mean, we've seen that happen in some other FMCG names and all of that with premiumization as well. But this is big ticket consumption, and some of the vectors that are working in their favor will probably give you a very good opportunity, especially if the stock opens soft on the back of these numbers. Of course, it's moved from the 500 plus neighborhood in a year's time quite a bit. So valuation is a little bit of a concern. But any softness in valuation, Prashant, would probably be a very ideal opportunity to enter into the stock.
Prakash, appreciate you always joining in and giving us your valuable inputs on a whole host of stocks. So wishing you a good day ahead and enjoy the holiday tomorrow as well.